Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another weekly wrap-up. My name is Jeremy Cronemeyer, Operations Manager for Wickham Financial Group, and I have Graham Wickham here, President and CEO of Wickham Financial and Insurance Services. Graham, what's going on in the markets?
Thank you, Jeremy. Thanks for our listeners jumping on another call. We just had, great stocks. U.S. stocks last week hit some new highs. So we saw the S&P 500 climb despite some signs of maybe some slowing economy. We saw the labor market weaken sharply, though. We saw in July payrolls, they showed a loss of about 23,000 jobs versus some expectations for about an 80,000 job gain. Unemployment rate that fell slightly from 4.2% to 4.1%. And then we saw the average hourly earnings rose, but only 0.1% month over month and about 3.2% year over year. And that all was below expectations. Corporate earnings, they're the major market driver right now. Get this, we got the aggregate S&P 500 earnings rose nearly 50% year over year. Now, if we exclude some large companies like Alphabet or Amazon, we saw earnings grow about 28%. That's absolutely huge. That can support this market trading on generally at a higher multiple. If we look at AI-related spending, still a concern. Geopolitical tensions eased, but hey, there's another day. We'll see how that changes. If we look at the sector performance, we looked at technology. That was up more than 7%, where energy lagged, that fell more than 3%. We saw the US dollar remain pretty weak, and gold and precious metals continue to rally. They hit a 2-month high. Now, if we go into the week ahead, we're really looking at the investors shifting maybe from earnings, even though we still have a lot of earnings to come out, maybe a little more towards inflation and maybe consumer health data. So on Wednesday, some key economic reports will come out like Consumer Price Index, that CPI number. That's expected to report a year over year of about 3.4. If we strip and just call it core CPI, that's expected to be about 2.5. That's stripping out food and energy. If we look at Thursday, we'll get Producer Price Index, Friday, retail sales. Now, overall, the markets will look for evidence on whether this weaker hiring reflection is signaling some economic slowdown or some economic resilience. We'll just have to see. But energy markets, they'll remain the wild card right now. Overall, a favorable market scenario would include this. We want to see energy prices pull back a bit. We want to see some softer inflation, but at the same time, we want the consumer to hold up. We still want to see some strength there. If we can get those three, I think we're still looking at a reasonably strong risk-on environment for equities, even though we might still have to expect some volatility.
Gotcha. Well, Graham, I had a question for you. So the market seems to be a little bit on a tear right here the last few weeks compared to the kind of the beginning of the year. Do you see that continuing going into the fall?
Yes and no. I think as long as earnings are going to be the driver, they're going to support this market one way or another. As long as we have earnings coming in, I think we're good. Keep in mind, we are entering that more challenging time of the year, the summer, end of fall. Usually market's going to get some more volatility, a bit more challenge. Then towards late fall, in towards the holiday period, we start to get some what's called window dressing. We'll get into Santa Claus rally at the end of the first part of the year, all the way through June again. So I expect some volatility. The markets have done extremely well. The S&P is up about 13%-ish so far year to date. Didn't start out that way. So, I mean, if we just ended this year up 13%, I think we'd all say it's been a great year compared to a 20% average annual over the last three. I expect some volatility, long story short.
Gotcha. Well, Graham, we always appreciate the information and expertise, and thank our listeners that check in with us every single week. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a great week.
Take care.